Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. And this is part 1 of how to create a PASTEBIN application. Let's take a look at our requirements. The user has to be able to make bins, view bins, and make private and public bins. We're going to be using Python, HTML, and CSS as well as JavaScript for our language. For our server, we'll be using Flask and Flask RESTful for our API. And for database, we'll be using SQL Alchemy. Finally, we'll be using render template, which is Flask templating tool. Here's a model of our application. From our front end, users will send data, which is a bin, to our API, which will then send it to the database where we'll store it. Our API will query the database, and the database will return data. And our API can then give this data to the front end where the user can see. Let's get started. I have two Python files, server.py and model.py. Inside of this, I have some SQL Alchemy configuration as well as some setup for our database. However, let's start in model.py where I've imported SQL Alchemy. We'll say db equals SQL Alchemy. And then we'll make a model for our database. We'll say PASTEBIN model db.model. And we'll say our table name with this. So table name equals PASTEBIN. And we'll say ID equals db.column, db.integer, and we'll set it as our primary key. Then we'll make title, content, and finally our secret ID for our private bins. Say db.column, db.string 50, and we can just copy this for all of them. Now we'll define init, self, title, content, as well as secret ID. So we'll say self.title equals title, self.content equals content, and finally self.secret ID equals secret ID. Now finally we'll define JSON, and inside of this we'll just return title, self.title, and then our content as self.content, and finally we'll return our secret ID as self.secret ID. So great, we've successfully made our model. Now let's head back to server.py and let's import db and our model. So from model import our db as well as our PASTEBIN model. Now that we have this, let's get started by making our Flask server. So we'll say app equals Flask name, and we'll say setting up Flask server, and we'll set up our API as well by saying API equals API app. And now that we have this, let's run our app. So running Flask app. So we'll say if name equals main, then we'll do app.run debug equals true. Now that we have this, let's get started by creating our first endpoint. So we'll say class home source. So we'll define get self, and we'll return. Now we're going to be returning a template. So let's make a folder called templates, and we'll make a file called index.html. And we'll say PASTEBIN home, And inside, we'll first put an input, and we'll give it an ID of paste title, and then we'll do a text area, and we'll give it an ID of paste content. And for the info, we'll just have a placeholder of title. And after that, we can do a select and visibility. And we'll add two options. So one will be public. Copy this and make another option for private. Now finally, we'll add a button to submit. Type equals button, and on click equals paste. Now we'll save this, and over here we'll return response. Response equals render template index.html. Now let's save this and run our Flash server. So our Flash server is now running. And here it's not found. That's because we haven't added an endpoint for it. So let me just save this. So before this, we'll just say adding endpoints. So API.add resource home. Now let's rerun our server. Fresh, and as you can see, we now have our template. This button to be outside of this, not inside. Fresh it. Now we have our button. And just say paste. Great, so we have our template over here. Now what we're going to do is make another endpoint, and we'll call it add public bin resource, and we'll define get self and then paste title as well as paste content. And now that we have this, we can say our new paste equals PASTEBIN model, and we can say from our model.py over here, so we'll fill in title and content. So we'll say title equals paste title, our content equals paste content, and finally we'll set our secret ID to blank, since this is a public bin, not a private one. And then we'll do db.session.add our new paste, and then we'll do db.session.commit. Now we want to return not only success message, but also the bin's ID, so users can then find their bin. We'll say num equals list index.json for index in bins, and we can say bins equals PASTEBIN model query all, and we can just get the length of this, and we'll just return message success, your bin ID num. And now we can save this, and we can add an endpoint. So api.add resource, add public bin, and upload string title and string paste content. So our paste title from here and our paste content from here. Now let's save this and come to our index.html. So we're going to add some JavaScript here. Make a script tag and make a function called paste. And first, let's just select all of our inputs. So variable paste title, copy this, equals document get element by ID here. And after that, we have our paste content. So our variable paste content equals document get element by ID, our paste content. And finally, we'll say our variable visibility equals document get element by ID visibility. And to the end of all of these, we'll just add a dot value to get the value of each of them. And great. Now we're going to add an if statement to just check if our input and text are blank, because if it's blank, then we shouldn't be able to make a bin. So we'll say if not paste title dot trim equals blank, and not paste content dot trim equals blank. And now that we have that, we'll just do if paste visibility equals public. Then we'll do window dot location dot replace. Let's come back over here. Let's copy this. And in server, this is our endpoint. So let's do this and do slash. You can actually make these backticks. And we can do slash upload slash and so the first one's going to be our paste title, and the second one's going to be our paste content. Okay, so let's just save this and restart our Flash server. Okay, start it. Test title, just some random content, paste. And great, so we get a success message and our bins ID. Now, let's make a way to view public bins. So let's stop our server real quick. And we can add a new endpoint. So let's just first make it class find public bin. And we'll define get with self and then bin ID. And inside of here, we'll say our bin equals paste bin model dot query dot filter by, so our ID will be our bin ID dot first. Then we'll say if bin, then we'll return, or else we'll return message no bin with that ID exists. And over here we're going to return another template, so we can just copy this in And we can make a new template called view.html. Bin view, and we'll make an h1 and name it title. Then we'll make a paragraph and name it content. Great. Now that we have this, let's come back. And we're going to change this to view.html. And we'll say title equals, and the title is going to be our bin.json. And the title is going to be bin.json title. And then our content, build it over here. Content equals bin.json content. And the way I'm getting title and content from here is because, remember, in our model, we're returning title and content. So if we change the way we return the JSON, we would also have to change how we write it over here. Now let's just save this and add a new endpoint. So api.add resource find public bin. We'll say find and then our integer for bin ID. Save this and let's run our app. And now that we have this, we'll do /find/1. And as you can see, we have our test title as well as our text that we put. So we can make another one, for example, so another test, and we can paste it, and it says your bin's ID is 2. And over here, we'll just do /find/2, and as you can see, it returns. And if we put an invalid ID like 8, we'll get a message saying no bin with that ID exists. So that's it for part 1. In the next tutorial, we'll learn how to make private bins. So make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.